All right, so welcome to all of you. This is a seminar that's hosted by our Title V Faculty Fellows Group. So this is a group of faculty that get together to discuss how we can best support graduate students, especially graduate students in the sciences. And that includes our undergrads as they prepare to go to graduate school, students who might be in our master's programs here who are thinking about PhD programs. So a lot of different ways that we're working to make sure that we are being effective mentors and meeting student needs. And so reaching out to students and offering this workshop is one of those events. And we're very happy to have you here to join us. I'll just go ahead and really quickly introduce the people that you're going to be hearing from this morning. So we have Dr. Heidi He, who will be speaking from nursing. We have Dr. Katie O'Sullivan, who will be speaking from geology. We have Dr. Chengwei Lei from computer science. Hey, waving, good. We have Dr. Rich Zamora from psychology. He's waving. We have Dr. Amber Stokes from biology. There she is. In addition to our initial speakers, we also have a group of panelists here who represent additional faculty, and they're going to be here to help answer questions as we move into the question and answer portion of this morning. And our group available for question and answer, in addition to the people I already introduced, is Dr. Annie Baining from nursing, Dr. Anna Doty from biology, Dr. Kane Keller from biology, Dr. Chris Crew from geology, and Dr. Brandon Pratt from biology. And I will also be available to answer questions. I'm Dr. Anna Jacobson from biology and co-director of our Title V grant here at CSUB. And I'll quickly introduce my wonderful co-director, Dr. Deborah Jackson, who is also here this morning. Nice to see you, Dr. Jackson. So with that, I will introduce our first presenter of the morning, Dr. Heidi He from nursing, who is going to be talking about Before You Write, Program Requirements and Following Application Instructions. Dr. He.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Today, I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the importance of knowing the program requirement and follow the instructions. Basically, the probability of you being accepted into a graduate program will be significantly higher if your career goal and the program goal matches. So what do I mean by that? Say, for example, the goal of our FNP program is to increase the primary care providers who are interested in serving the medically underserved area. But your career goal is to become an orthopedic surgeon. Well, obviously, you will not be accepted, regardless how good you are, because you applied to the wrong program. Then, of course, this example is extreme. You know, everybody knows that you need to go to medical school to become a surgeon, but that's just the point I was trying to make, that you need to know the program that you are applying to. Knowing the program, how does the program select their candidate? We're looking for students who will contribute to the program, who will help the program achieve its mission. Our program, then you would imagine, we would be purposefully seek out candidates who has the intention to become the primary care providers serving in the medically underserved area. We would have specific program admission requirement. We're going to ask a series of essay questions to get to know the applicants better. So, of course, other program probably is going to do something different, maybe ask for a personal statement. Read the instructions very carefully, because if the instruction says submit a personal statement addressing XYZ, then you better address X, Y, and Z, hopefully in that specific order, and address all the points listed thoughtfully. That's the key, thoughtful. So you want to ask yourself why those questions are asked. And what do they want to know about me? And that make me stand out. Always proofread your writings, because careless mistakes and not following the instructions will most definitely negatively impact your chance for being admitted. So that being said, is to summarize, know the program and follow the instruction. Very straightforward, very simple. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. He. All right, up next, we have Dr. Katie O'Sullivan. She's from Geology, and she's going to be talking about presenting evidence and information that shows that your application is program specific. Dr. O'Sullivan.
Thank you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about making your letter personal to the program that you're applying to. We all know that we're going to apply to many different schools. What you want to do is craft an individual letter for each of those schools. So when the program acceptors are reading your letter, they know that you took the time to look up their program and make sure that it was a good fit for you. Because if that program is a good fit for you, then you're likely going to be a good fit for them. And whether you're doing a thesis option where you're going to be working with an advisor, or a non-thesis option where you're taking coursework and then going to take an exam at the end to get an advanced degree, that fit is really important. And for the thesis option, what I would do is look up a few potential advisors on the department website, see if they have websites. If they don't, then I would Google their names in the Google Scholar webpage and look up some recent publications that they wrote. And then in your personal statement, I would reference those publications, and you could say, oh, I really liked your 2020 paper on X, and I really liked your 2021 paper on Y, and I want to do work just like that. That'll give you a really good chance at developing a rapport with a potential advisor and therefore being accepted to the program that you want. So I think that's it for me.
Great, thank you very much, Dr. O'Sullivan. All right, up next, we have Dr. Chengwei Lei. Dr. Lei is from computer science, and Dr. Lei is going to be talking to us about past experience in the discipline and your commitment to your study area and topic. Dr. Lei.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Chengwei Lei, and I'm from computer science. So somehow I think I can speak for the electrical engineering, computer science, and the engineering part. Today, my talk will talk about the past experience and your commitment in your personal statement, also the resume. So I will consider resume as summarized version of your personal statement. Let me ask a question. What is the biggest problem in communication? We get similar answers. So my summarize is like miscommunication, which is whatever you talk, you think you're saying something, but other people, they're listening, they're understanding some other stuff. So it's like a miscommunication. Let's look at another example. Let's say if you're a chef, if you're a cooker, and you're preparing a tasty food for the customer, what to do? Think about it. If you just working at McDonald's, then you're gonna say, I will follow procedure, whatever on a code book or whatever, I just do it. And if you are just in a normal restaurant, you're gonna say, I will get a fresh food. But think about it. If you are in the high level, expensive restaurant, you will always know your customer flavor. So if they like salty, you put more salt. They like sweetie, you put more sugar. That's the most important thing. Then that's back to our graduate program application. So the logic is similar. So if you are an applicant for whatever PhD or master, and you're preparing your PS, personal statement for the advisor. So what should you do? You should know the advisor's preference. And when I say advisor's preference, it's not talk about the individual person's preference or flavor. It's more about the type of people's flavor. Okay, so here, let's look at some example. First of all, in your personal statement, you're gonna talk about your past experience. Just remember, even for me or for any professor here, they have two characters. One is teacher, the other one is advisor. In the past, you take their class or whatever, the relationship between you and them, a teacher and a student. So the requirement for the teacher and the students, they are just understand the content, finish the homework, answer the exam, blah, 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 stuff like this. This is the relation between teacher and the students. And in the future, you're gonna be the advisor, and the relationship gonna be advisor and advisee. So which means the requirement are totally different. As an advisor, I need you guys to be creative, like self-motivated, and problem solving, and also the presentation skills, all of those stuff. What do I mean? I mean, in your personal statement, you should add some special flavor for this portion. Do not talk too much about, oh, I took several classes, I get an A. Of course, that's good. But and do not talk about, I'm a huge member in alpha, beta, tau, gamma, delta, epsilon. Oh, that's good. But if you keep talking about that, so what? You're gonna be my advisee. I want you to be creative. So you're gonna say, okay, so maybe in some class project, I talk to the professor, I expand the project, become a research stuff. That's good. For example, I work in whatever biology lab and I help the professor solve some problem, hands-on stuff. That's good. You must understand your customer or your advisor's flavor. So you're gonna do whatever they like. And here's some detailed solution. What can you do? So you can talk to the professor. When you talk to professor, remember, you talk to them as an advisee. Do not talk to them as a student. And ask them what's their flavor, what's their idea, blah, blah. And ask them about their research. Remember, professors' research are different about professors' teaching. So ask them about their research. And of course, you can work with them on their research project that will definitely help you guys to understand their flavor. So next topic, second half is your commitment. You have to show your commitment in your personal statement. The graduate education, especially for PhD, is a long journey. Okay, it's a very long time. You have to have your commitment there. So your advisor is more like a VC. So they will not put money on you if you are like no return project. If you die before you graduate, it's kind of like no return project. They will not put money on that. So they are very bad. They are like those greedy VCs. They are very bad, okay? But you have to get the money from them. So you must satisfy them. What's the solution? The solution, so here's the solution. We said the curiosity is the best teacher, which means the passion is more important thing. So in your personal statement, you should show the passion for discovery or the passion for the knowledge. Do not use big words. That's always my suggestion. Do not say anything big, huge. Don't say the detailed examples. So that means you have some story. And don't say anything that is short-sighted. For example, I cannot find a job, so I cannot apply for PhD. Oh, hell, man. So I definitely will not take that. What's the solution? The solution is still similar. Talk to your professor as an advisee. Do not as a student. You can also talk to them and ask their story. So ask your professor, what's your story? Why you get a PhD and become a professor here? What's your story? You can get some points from their storytelling. To sum up, the best strategy for a PS, don't wait until last minute. When I say last minute, it's not a real last minute. Last month, last second, last month, last week, it's not good. Because until last month, you're gonna start to write your resume or PS. That's really bad. You're gonna start to plan ahead. 1 year, 2 year, whatever, plan ahead, and you can build your resume. Now you have a lot of stuff organized. On purposely, you have a lot of stuff. Now you can write your either resume or PS, very beautiful and complete. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lei. That was great. All right, so next we have Dr. Rich Zamora is going to be speaking, and he is from psychology. And Dr. Zamora will be speaking on, is the timing right? Ensuring that this is the best time to start your graduate education. Dr. Zamora.
One of the things that I want you all to consider when thinking about graduate school is really assessing if this is the right time to pursue your advanced education. Like some of my colleagues have already mentioned, it's a commitment to pursue your advanced degree. And it's also time consuming. There's going to be a lot of time that you need to put into your education. One thing that you can think about is reflect on your experience as an undergrad. Grad school is very different in ways where there's a lot more involvement in terms of your research, what you're studying. Remember that when you're pursuing an advanced degree, one of the things you're doing is you're learning how to master the material and to be an expert in that area. And when thinking about if this is the right time, what resources do you have right now that will help you while you're in grad school? Think about your financial resources, think about your support system. Who are the supporters that are going to be there for you while you're in grad school? And I think it's also really important to consider your current life situation, your stressors. What are some things you're doing right now to work on those stressors, but also to make it less stressful when you attend graduate school? Because graduate school can be stressful, as you all know. Being a student can be very stressful. You're not just focusing on your education, there's other things that you're focusing on. It's really important to consider and ask yourself if this is the right time to pursue graduate school. Sometimes I encourage students to take a break, and taking a break sometimes means getting more experience. That can be work experience, getting some hands-on experience in the field that you're going into. And it could also be research experience, working with faculty and research even after you've earned your undergrad degree. See if there's any ways you can be involved in research. So really just asking yourself if this is the right time, and what are some things that you can do to maybe perhaps strengthen your application to go to grad school if this isn't the right time you're going to apply this time. Like some of my colleagues have already mentioned, talking to other graduate students and your professors. How did you know it was the right time to go to grad school? What were the things that helped you to make that decision to apply to grad school at that time? Gathering information from other folks, but also assessing in yourself and what resources and what support system you have right now and your current life situation.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Zamora. All right. Our next speaker is Dr. Amber Stokes. Dr. Stokes is from biology, and she will be speaking about preparing for your future, long-term goals, and why a graduate degree helps you meet them. Dr. Stokes.
What graduate admissions committees really want to know is they want to know that you understand what you're getting into, that you're committed to attending, completing this degree that can be very demanding. You want to demonstrate that you have a clear idea of your academic as well as your professional goals. And you want to have a clear idea of how this particular program that you are applying for will actually serve you in reaching these particular goals. So there's kind of three things that I think you should hit on in this particular area. The first thing is for you to think about where you actually want to be after graduate school. Do you think you maybe want to go on to a PhD program? Are you trying to get to other professional schools, perhaps? If you're applying to a PhD program, then do you see yourself becoming a professor at a four-year institution? Are you thinking about either with a master's or a PhD teaching at the JC or junior college or even college level? Those are things to kind of think about. Where do you think you want to go next? Then you want to focus on how the program that you're applying for will actually help you reach those goals. Make it clear that you're somewhat familiar with the program. As Dr. O'Sullivan already talked about, you want to do some research into different labs, also the university that you're applying to, discuss specific research interests of faculty that you think might help you get to the next step or that you're interested in working with. And then even, are there courses that you're really interested in taking that you think might help you get to the next step? And then lastly, you want to identify research goals, if that's applicable, or career goals. So if you're in a program like nursing, or if you're entering into a non-thesis program, then you'll want to just talk about your overall career goals. Why are you passionate about the particular subject, right? About the program that you're actually applying to. You don't have to have a specific research project worked out. And I know for a lot of students, you feel like, I don't know what I want to be when I quote unquote grow up. But don't say that because then it sounds like you're floundering, and you want to sound like you want to indicate that you're very committed to this program, even if you're not 100% sure. You'll figure it out, but have some sort of path in front of you when you apply. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Stokes. And thank you to all of our presenters. That was really great. And I think a lot of good context and information for our attendees. So with that, we're going to actually move into our question and answer time period. And so we have our speakers as well as the rest of the panelists who can answer questions. So our first question, how important is the personal statement relative to other elements of an application? Different programs might be a little bit different in this. All right, Dr. Zamora will answer this first question.
I will say it's very important. Think about it this way. If you've never met the people who are reading your application, this is your opportunity to let us know who you are. And it's a big part of your application to get us to know why you're applying to our program. Definitely a big factor in applying, and more specifically too in psychology. This is also a good writing sample, to look at how you write and how you talk about and describe, present yourself in writing formats, make a good impression.
That's perfect. Thank you, Dr. Zamora. Dr. He, I see that you're unmuted. Do you want to add?
Basically for us, absolutely, and weighted very, very heavily in the admission process. So I didn't want to answer it previously because I feel like our MP program is a little bit different from other programs. In general, I believe all the program will, now I know all the program looking at applicants in the same way.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. He. Dr. Stokes.
Even if we do know you, even if you know that I'm the graduate director and I'm going to be one of the people reviewing your application, don't assume that I know everything about you, because I have a lot of students. So make sure that you provide all of the detailed information so that we understand what you're wanting to do and what you want to do with your career.
Perfect. Thank you. Kyle, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
So I'm applying to a few different psychological science programs or like general psych programs because I'm interested in becoming a professor and doing research as well. So that's kind of how I landed there. But a lot of my personal statements or statements of purpose are asking me to kind of explain like research experience that I've had. And that's like all they're asking of me, nothing else. And without a lot of research experience, how would I kind of fill that space without making it look like I just wanted to fill the personal statement up?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that.
So for some students who don't have a lot of research experience, one of the things that I let students know is it's good to also talk about what you learned about the process in research. So perhaps you have some ideas or topics that you've learned in your classes, and even if you don't have a lot of research experience, you can talk about maybe possible research questions based on the topics that you know and that you like and that you enjoy in psychology, since you're applying to psychology, but in any topics really. And maybe talk more about what you learn in the research process and how you can apply those skills in pursuing that research question and applying to that graduate program. Even if you don't have direct research experience, you have knowledge about the research process and what you learned in your courses. So that's something that you can highlight and talk about your how those skills apply to what research you want to pursue in that graduate program.
In biology, our students often do independent research projects in their courses. So if you've done a project in one of your courses that you thought was particularly interesting and that you found something really cool or just sparked your interest in doing research, I would talk about that, because that appeals to committee members as well, that you've maybe not had like formal research experience, but that you do have some experience, and that it kind of sparked something in you in terms of being ready to go to graduate school.
Maybe not helping people that are in the process of applying now, but those that are thinking of applying to particularly PhD programs, that's going to be a very common thing that they're looking for in a personal statement, is your research experience. So if you're considering applying to graduate schools in the future, it may mean that you go and sort of seek out some research experience with faculty during your undergrad or during your master's program, if you have it, if you're not doing that already as part of the master's.
How would you make yourself stand out when you have to answer the question, what motivates you? Since a lot of people applying to a program will have the same goal. Dr. Lei.
Okay, maybe I can say something. So, well, I think for this question, the most important thing is to be different. So if you think in the normal way and answer in the normal way, then you're gonna be most likely highly similar to other applicants. So I cannot remember if I answered the exact same question, but at least my logic to answer this type of question is, I just tell that it's like all my family members kind of university professors. My father's father, my mother's father, my mother, my father, my uncle, my auntie, whatever. So it's like a family business. So which means it's not even an option for me. So I have to be a professor. So that's why I'm gonna get a PhD. But I have the passion for computer science because blah, blah, some other reason. If you are interested, I can tell you again. But anyway, so that's my type of answer. I think it's very, whatever is bad or good, at least outstanding. It's just totally abnormal from other answers. So that's my situation.
Thank you, Dr. Lei. And it looked like Dr. Jackson had her hand up.
Oh, thanks. I know I'm not a panelist today, but I have some thoughts about this particular question that I hope are helpful. And I'm gonna offer this by an example. So I think that the way to really help readers understand how your motivations might differ from other people's is to really make it personal or tell a story, because in that story, you can really show something about who you are and what's going to keep you motivated throughout the duration of your study. Grad school is hard, and having the skills is one thing, but having the tenacity is another. And I think that personal story is what's going to keep you going when it gets really hard, and you can relay that. So the example I want to share with you is the best application letter I've ever read was from a student who was applying to law school. And in his letter, he wrote about his experience in the military, serving in Afghanistan. And he talked about how he was riding in this caravan and with his military folks, and there was a family that was in the ditch asking for help. And his commander was like, look, we don't have time to stop and help this family. But there was a UN officer that was on that caravan that said, no, by law, we are obligated to offer help to these civilians. And he used that story to show how he, like at that moment, he decided he wanted to become a lawyer because he could see how the law could dramatically change and what would happen and how people were helped. And I thought that was such a great story because it gives you so much information about him. It relays his military experience, his motivation, his understanding of the law and passion about it. And if you have a story like, not exactly like that, I don't know how many people have served overseas in the military, but if you have a story about like, maybe if you want to be a doctor, are you motivated because someone in your family had a particular illness that has created a passion in you to serve others? Or if you want to be a therapist, is there someone who had a mental health struggle that that's really driving your passion? If it's about, research, a particular research question that you're passionate about, I think that those kinds of stories tell a lot about who you are and what's gonna, and help you connect with the reader.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dr. Jackson. Okay, so next question. What is the best way to sound confident about your career goals if you are still uncertain about them? Lie. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I can jump in a little bit on this. So I had a very non-direct path to my current profession. And I think a lot of people who are reading personal statements, a lot of faculty that would look at these have had similar, we're not all like Dr. Lei, where it was a very clear trajectory. And so I think that's fine. And part of figuring out what you really want to do is figuring out what you don't really want to do. And so there are a lot of experiences that will help you get there. And I think being honest about that and writing about your experiences and kind of how you've narrowed in on your graduate school choice, even if you're not totally confident that you're, headed down a straight line, That can be really valuable, and it helps committees when they're evaluating your application understand who you are and where you're coming from. I don't think you necessarily need to sound confident or be absolutely certain. I think being open to experiences can be a real strength. Dr. Keller.
I completely agree. Being authentic about it, right? Not coming across as lying as this is exactly what I want to do, but you can be honest about what you think you want to do now, but that you are open to new experiences that might alter those career plans in the future. And so while you think that this is the path, you want those additional experiences to continue to build from to help you direct yourself towards that, right? And if you talk about that in your personal statement about what you're looking for in your degree and in your education, that's going to help that person on the other side reading that they realize that yeah, you don't just have this clear path already set up that you are dead set on, but instead you want to just learn more so that way you can be as confident by the time you graduate that you are going to find that career that you are the most excited about.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Keller. All right, next question. Is it possible to gain more experience after undergrad then apply to grad programs? Or is heading straight into graduate school after undergrad the best option? That's a really good question. And I don't think there's I'll dive in here quick, and then I see that Dr. Banning is going to speak as well. I think that both paths work, and it depends on you and your goals and your experience. I didn't go straight in. I actually worked in a couple different jobs, some, second grade teacher, scientist, all sorts of different jobs before I went to grad school. That's part of figuring out what you like and what works for you. Other people go straight in and they're really focused, and that works for them. And yeah, I don't think there's a really good answer for this. Some programs actually require that you do have experience, and so you can't go directly in. Dr. Banning.
Yes, I would like to emphasize it. In our nurse practitioner program, you have to be a nurse for 2 years with the experience before you apply. Then that way your experiences, the hours that you work actually count towards the application process as well. However, I want to share that actually I graduated nursing from Bakersfield College, and I actually worked 10 years before I decided to go back and get a bachelor degree at Cal State. And it's just timing. It's need to be the right timing, the right cause. I actually was asked to be a perioperative educator, training the nurses to become OR nurses in the operating room, which is a totally different type of nursing skills. And then I found that I need more education in, adult learning theories and all these different type of strategies in order to help the nurses successful to learn operating room skills. And that's made me decided to go back and go higher degree, get my bachelor, eventually get my master as well. So it's also that challenge. Think about what you want as a challenge. For me, I'm just going back to school because that challenge is there for me to obtain more skills and more for my work, line of work at that time. So you kind of have to look into what, steps you're going to take and then write it out. That's what I'm really good at. I would get a piece of paper, the pros and the cons and which way to go. As a matter of fact, when I went to graduate school, I also wanted to think about, do I want to be a lawyer? Because I really like, do I want to be a nurse anesthetist, or do I want to be a nurse practitioner? So, those are the pros and cons you want to look at before you actually jump ahead into writing up that application and statements as well.
Great, thank you, Dr. Banning. Dr. Pratt.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've got a quick story on this that's a little bit different from my experience. When I was an undergraduate, I had actually had a fair bit of research experience as an undergraduate. And at the start of my senior year, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to grad school. I know I really liked research, but I was in the office of a professor I was taking a class from, and he asked me, hey, what are you planning on doing? I said, I'm thinking about taking a year off or just, not going straight to grad school. And he said, no, you need to go straight to grad school. This doesn't sound like a good idea. And I was kind of surprised by that. He wasn't the kind of guy to really say stuff like that. And I left his office and I thought, okay, maybe I should apply to grad school. So I like within the next couple of weeks, I had applied and ended up going. And for me, it was a really good decision, in hindsight. And I mean, it's interesting. I feel like in a way that particular professor maybe knew me a little better than myself, or had more confidence in me than I had in myself at that time. And so it was just, I guess my point is these decisions aren't always clear. It wasn't coming easy for me, but it turned out the choice that was right for me was to go straight away and not, explore other things. And I got nudged by a professor just at kind of the right moment at the right time. And that was probably a pretty formative conversation because it set me on a trajectory that I've been on pretty much ever since.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Pratt. Dr. Doty.
Well, I really echo Dr. Pratt's sentiments. I understand where he's coming from and why some people might be urged to go to grad school before others. Briefly, I just want to say it really comes down to whether you feel like you're ready and you're confident with your decision to go to grad school, because when people are looking at your application, what they're going to want to see is that you are ready and you appear like you're going to finish the program and you're going to do well in the program. And so you have to ask yourself, is this what I really want to do? You're not just doing it because you feel like your next steps are ambiguous and you just are kind of choosing a direction. It's a real choice to go to grad school. And so when people are looking at your application, they want to see that you're really committed. And if you need to take a year off and that's what's better for you, that's fine. It would never have worked for me because I may have I think I probably would never have come back to school. So I knew myself. And so I had to keep going, right? But maybe that's not right for you. I know people who have taken 5 years off of school and come back and been very successful in their careers. And so don't ever feel, I just want to add, don't ever feel like it's too late for you. There's a lot of pressure that on students. And I have a lot of students that come to me feeling like they have to go immediately to grad school. And maybe I can tell it's not really the right decision for them. And so I urge you to just consider what you think is best for you. And so you don't burn out. But if you think that if you don't go to grad school right away, then you might not return, then maybe going straight into grad school is the best option for you if you feel confident that that's the direction you want to take. So it's definitely dependent on your chances of personal success.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Doty. Dr. O'Sullivan.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to add that for those of you who are first generation students, you're gonna get a lot of pushback from your family because taking a year off sounds really scary and like you might not go back to school. And it's just simply not the case. So again, like some of us needed that year off. I took a year off and worked, and it's not a positive or a negative. So be prepared for that pushback from your family and know they're wrong.
Thank you, Dr. O'Sullivan. Dr. Zamora.
I just wanted to also just add that if when we're talking about timing and taking a gap or going straight through, part of this too is if you don't get in the first time around, don't give up. If this is really your goal, if this is what you want to do, find ways and ask for feedback. How can you strengthen your application? Maybe that year is going to serve you better in terms of increasing your chances of getting into more programs. So if you apply and go straight through and you don't get in, just don't give up. And if this is really your goal, continue pursuing it.
Thank you, Dr. Zamora. Dr. He.
Yes. So I was just going to add that decision, again, just like everybody says, is there's no right, wrong, good, or bad. And also decision making should not be only just you. You can always reach out to your mentor, reach out to your professor, reach out people in the profession, and then get a better idea whether it is a good time to do it. Oh, I should do it later or what. So just it's another research process, okay? And find out your options, then make that decision. What is the best? If that was your best choice.
I really like what Dr. Zamora said on don't get discouraged and try again. And that brings up something that goes back to the personal statement and trying to make yourself stand out is grit and tenacity are two of the most important traits for successfully completing life. And that includes grad school. And so like in your personal statement, if you feel like you've got a personal narrative, like where you've overcome challenges, obstacles were in your way, and you showed grit and tenacity to move past, like not getting in the first time, and here you are applying again. That's really impressive. That's telling people about your personality. It's not to be ashamed of. That's a trait people are looking for. So I think that is really an important point from Dr. Zamora.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Pratt. Dr. Lei.
So I think I have to add one sentence here. So one of the most important lesson for my life is from my classmate in the graduate school. And he told me that there's a very basic formula in statistics, which is S equals to N times P. S means success, N means how many times you try, how many trials, and P means probability. And he told me that since we are not that good, we're kind of stupid, so our P is low. Then if we want a success, so what's the way? We increase the N, right? So we cannot just bag in our P. No, P is there. You're stupid, that's it. Then we can increase the P. Keep trying, never give up. So eventually we're gonna get that success, that S. So that's I'm gonna share this S equals N times P. Increase your N until you get the S. So that's my share.
Thank you, Dr. Lei. All right, we have another question in the chat that I think is awesome. So since personal statements are a reflection of ourselves, is it appropriate to make jokes? I love this. So what do people think? I say be you. That's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, feel specific. Well, in nursing, I'm not sure joke is a true thing that you want to say about it, because when there is a question asking about whether you can think ethically or think logically or think with critical thinking skills, you don't want to play jokes with certain field. In nursing, we actually look into your critical thinking process in personal statement as well.
I would just say there's plenty, once you get in, there's plenty of time for joking. Probably in the personal letter, it could fall flat. I don't think it's gonna you always have to think about if I do this, is this gonna put me over the top and really, catapult my application in a positive way? Or is it gonna be neutral? Or could it be a catastrophic fail? This is a joke in there is not gonna put you over the top. It could be a catastrophic fail. Most likely it's gonna be neutral. So I'd say don't risk it. And that's just like my instinct on the matter.
I think it depends how do you joke. So back to my slides. So I think you have to, if you joke in the professor's way, then it's gonna be work. So it really depends. If you joke in the wrong direction, then obviously it may be even become an insult. So if you want to joke, that's okay. Make sure you are joking in the right direction.
Dr. Lei, I think that's great. And Dr. Pratt, so this is actually this is a good final question, because I think it ties together a lot of things: knowing who you're applying to, knowing the program, being program specific, knowing your advisor that you're applying to work with. You probably don't want to be joking off topic, but if you can work a joke in on topic that illustrates who you are, that could make you stand out. It could be a unique thing about you. So I think there's a lot of ways to kind of fold in all of our topics and presentations on that topic. Oh, one just came in. A lot of this is personal information. Who gets to read and review my personal statement? That's a very good question.
So I can share. So for us is a admission committee. So I assume that's similar for many other programs. So so each applications is at least being read twice, and if our opinion is similar, then the question asked, right? If our opinion is totally polar opposite, then we will have the third reader. So I think it's very much like when we review, thesis and things like that. So so that's how my program runs.
Okay. From our program, so somehow like we have 2 rounds. Of course, we have the committee. The first round is like each professor gonna take maybe like, let's say 20 applications, and they're gonna go over with it. So if there's some big no there, they're gonna remove you from the list. And after that, they will put all the remaining students who is in the white list, and we're gonna go around in the committee meetings and discuss who is gonna be admitted. So I think this reflects Dr. He's previous topic. You have to exactly follow the instruction. If you are not following the instruction, your application could be thrown away at the first round, not even go to the pool, because you are not following order, whatever instruction. So that's very important.
Good, thank you. And I just had a message. I skipped accidentally. I'm very sorry. One of the questions earlier, totally unintentional. So let's make sure we get this question that I accidentally skipped. What if our undergrad career hasn't been completely linear and we have changed majors a few times? Would this be something to talk about? So I guess I'll get the ball. I would say yes. So one, it's nice to have your side of kind of when people are seeing a transcript, for instance, it's nice to have the background so that the committee can look at that and understand what's going on. My undergrad career was not linear. I switched majors. And part of that is, again, figuring out what you want to do. So in some ways, yes, I think you should probably write about it, but it's honestly, it's probably a strength where you figured out what you like and what you're good at, and you're narrowing in on the track that works for you. And so I think it can be, you've tried other things. So it's not just default, it's not rote. You're making a decision to change to the thing that you are passionate about. So I think that it can be a strength, and I would say, yes, write about it for sure. I see heads nodding. All right, so we have a hand raised. Yes.
Hey, I just basically wanted to know how much information is too much information in a personal statement.
When sharing anything personal about yourself and your life and the story, it has to, for me, when I read application, it has to make sense why you're sharing it. So there has to be a point as to, when you're asking what's too much, I think it also depends on your comfort level on how much you want to share from applying. But to me, it's not really so much about how much you share, but it's why you're sharing it, and does it make sense, and why you're sharing it to strengthen your application while you're getting into the field. So there has to be a point to it, and that it makes your application stronger in terms of getting to know who you are. That I think, to answer when it's too much, when sometimes I've read application when, well, you're sharing the story, but it doesn't really make sense, or there's no point to how this connects to why you're applying to our program. So I think it really just depends on your own comfort level, but also why you're sharing it and how does it inform us who you are in applying to our program.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Zamora. If we didn't get to your question, or if you didn't feel comfortable typing it in or asking it, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we would be very happy to assist. If you email either Adrian or myself, we will be happy to either respond or get your email to the person who can best respond to you. We are here to help and assist, and we are happy to be your support system. I'd like to thank all of our attendees, all of our presenters, and all of our wonderful panelists. And thank you to all.